If you think walking helped me get to 10% body fat because it burns more calories, then you've completely missed the point. Because honestly, the calories weren't even the biggest benefit. The biggest benefit was that walking helps me become someone who actually follows through. And if you're anything like most of the men and women that I speak to every single day who are trying to get in the best shape of their lives, the problem isn't that you don't know how to lose weight. You've looked at the information, you've watched the videos, you've probably tried multiple diets already. The problem is that you've been stuck in a cycle of starting and stopping over and over again. You know you're capable of more. You want more energy. You want more confidence. You want to be there more for people around you. You want your body to reflect the standards that you hold in every other area of your life. That somehow your health keeps getting pushed to the bottom of the list. And that's exactly where I found myself years ago, back when I was working in my office job in the worst shape of my life. But now I'm in the best shape of my life, and I'm maintaining it even when I'm here in Spain on holiday with my family. So in this video, I'm going to explain why walking became one of the most powerful habits that I have ever built. Not because it helped me get lean, but because it helped me become the type of person who stays lean, stays disciplined, and stays in control. And that is a very different lesson. And this first point is the important foundation that you need to understand, because most people think that walking just helps me get lean because of the calories, but that's actually not the biggest reason. The biggest reason was control. Most people don't have a fat loss problem. Most people know how to lose weight. There's so much information out there. The most important thing that they struggle with is consistency, because if you can't be consistent with something and you're just doing it for a couple of weeks and then you're falling off, you're never going to get the results that you're looking for, because they require consistency. Consistency with the inputs, with your training, your nutrition, your lifestyle habits, is going to result in consistency with the outputs, with how you're looking, with how you're feeling. And that's why it's so frustrating when you have a couple of weeks doing well with the inputs, you start to feel those outputs, but then obviously when you stop with the inputs, the outputs fall off as well. This happens far too often, and people will be starting over again and again and again. Just have a think about for yourself how many times that you've said, on Monday I'm going to start, or after my holiday I'll start, or maybe next month I'll start when the kids have gone back to school. And that never comes. And this is really what is breeding this mindset for you of getting started in the future, because you don't have the consistency of the inputs and you don't know how to build it around your life. Every time you break this promise to yourself, your self-respect drops and the trust in yourself drops. And every time this happens, it makes it harder for you to then get back on track with the inputs. And this is a vicious cycle that people find themselves in, where because of the lack of inputs and then the lack of the outputs off of the back of that, that's then creating this lack of self-trust, and it's a vicious loop that you find yourself potentially stuck in for years. This happened for me when I was in my office job, and I had a busy week at work all the time, and I would have some travel in there as well, going to different locations, and I would tell myself that now's probably not the right time to start, because I have all of these different things going on and it's going to be difficult for me. But what I didn't realize is what I needed to do was learn how to navigate those situations and build them into my plans, because if I didn't do that, then I would never be consistent long term, because I'm going to have busy weeks at work. I'm going to be having traveling. So I need to learn how to include those and not just have some generic plan that I found online. Really build a system into my life that I can be consistent with. And walking does that, because you can be super consistent with walking if you can build it into your schedule in the right timings that are actually going to work for you. So whether that is first thing in the morning, or if it's after you've had your breakfast, or if it's in the evenings, or you can build it in different times of your day depending on your routine around work. Maybe you decide to park further away than you normally do. This is really a staple habit that you can make sure you have within the structure of your day that can breed this consistency and keep you in this consistent mindset, because it's something you always do. So you have that new identity that you're taking on because you have these habits in your day that are those foundations that keep you grounded. And that's what walking really allowed me to do back when I was in my office job, was create this habit that became normal for me and really helps me start shifting into that new identity. because every time I was taking on this new habit, I knew that I was on the right path and I was taking the actions of the person that I wanted to be. Because confidence doesn't just come from losing weight and looking in the mirror and seeing the changes. It comes from the trust in yourself by following through on the actions that you said you were going to do. Confidence comes from keeping those promises, and that's really what builds momentum and is going to get you shifting into the identity of the desired outcome that you want. So what you need to do is set yourself a daily target, and this is why walking is so great as well, because you can track it. You can make it a non-negotiable target that you aim for. Stop just trying to win the month and see how much weight you can lose. Make sure you are setting standards and targets for the inputs like walking and tick those off on a daily basis, and then your desired outcome is going to be inevitable. And that's why the first point is walking gave me control again. But that wasn't even the biggest lesson for me. The biggest lesson was that I was trying to solve a busy person's problem with a bodybuilder's solution, which is why this next point is the next stage of the process and why it's so key. And this is where the fitness industry gets people so stuck, because most advice online is built for athletes, influencers, bodybuilders, not parents, business owners, professionals, shift workers. And that's why there's such a lack of alignment. Have you ever wondered why you've struggled to stay on track long term? And this is probably why. Most people don't need more discipline. They need a better plan and structure that actually fits their life. If your plan only works when it's perfect, I hate to break it to you, but it's probably a bad plan. Why are you trying to train hours and hours in the gym? Why are you spending hours and hours meal prepping multiple times a week? There's absolutely no need for this. People will be trying to train 6 times a week, which is absolutely crazy, with endless cardio, thinking that this is what they need to get in shape because they've seen these things online with the bodybuilders, with the influencers, and they think to get that outcome, those are the inputs that they need to do. But as we said before, if you can't be consistent with it, then you're not going to get those results anyway. So you need to start making sure that you're building a system that is something you can be consistent with. I used to always think that more was better. I used to spend 4 hours a day training CrossFit with multiple sessions per day, which is just absolutely crazy looking back at it. I was spending so long doing cardio. I thought that more restriction and more suffering was going to get me the results that I was looking for. But actually, over the last couple of years, what I've realized is that simplicity is what wins. Obviously, I'm not saying you don't need to do anything. Of course you do, but you need to just have a simple structure that you can be consistent with and you bring the right intensity to, and that is going to get you far better results than just absolutely destroying your body and not recovering from it and actually putting you on the back foot. The key thing that you really need to understand here, guys, is that fitness should support your life. It shouldn't become your life. It needs to be the foundation that everything is built upon. I truly believe that your fitness is the foundation to everything else. But that doesn't mean it needs to consume your life. It means it needs to support it. Ask yourself this: can I still do this when work gets busy, when family responsibilities increase? If the answer is no, and you can't do it when you're doing those things, or when you're traveling, or when the schedule with the kids gets busy, then you shouldn't be doing it in the first place. And that's why the second point is stop trying to live like a bodybuilder. But the biggest lesson came after that for me, because eventually walking just became something that I always did and became part of who I was. This third and final point is really the most important. If you really want to change your body and your life and actually make it into a lifestyle, this is where so many people misunderstand fat loss, because they focus just on losing weight. But if you think about it, lean people don't stay lean because they're motivated. They stay lean because they have the identity and they have the system. When I started walking consistently, that became evidence for me. It became evidence that I'm disciplined, I'm confident, and I follow through. It's stacking this evidence up that is really going to help you shift your identity into the version of yourself that achieves everything you want to with your body and with your life. That's why when I'm here in Spain on holiday with my family, I'm still making sure to get walks in, as it's part of who I am. You can use this time as well really wisely. I use this time to just make sure I'm resetting, connecting, and sometimes learning as well, listening to a podcast. Think about what you compare this with. Also, you can do work on your phone if you really need to, because these are really the habits that are going to help you be consistent long term. And if you know that you've got stuff to do on your phone, phone, for example, and you've got work to do as well, rather than just doing it sitting down, you can do it whilst you're walking. So you can start becoming that version of yourself that you need to be. The goal is not a six-pack, guys. Obviously, that's a byproduct, but the goal is having more energy, more confidence, better presence, better leadership, really becoming someone that your family and people at work look up to. That's the goal, and feeling more confident within yourself. And obviously the lean body is going to come as a result of that, but we need to be focusing on the inputs to get there. And that's why walking is one of those that is so important in shifting that identity. You have to realize that weight loss follows identity. Identity comes first. You need to become the person, start thinking, feeling, and acting as this future version of you. And that future version of you is then going to become inevitable. So make sure you attach walking to something you're already doing. For example, going to get a morning coffee, getting out of the house and doing that. That might be something that works for you. Or instead of just sitting down, listening to an audiobook, what you can do is you can walk and do that at the same time. Think about things that you can implement, like phone calls as well, taking them whilst you're walking around. For example, what I was doing when I was in Dubai, when I was losing weight and I was really getting in the best shape of my life, was I was taking a lot of meetings on my desk whilst I was on my walking pad. But I don't have that with me here in Spain. So what I decided to do was start taking audio calls as well. And I've just been walking up and down here in circles on the balcony, because that's the system that I've got implemented within my life. And that's how I've maintained my results. Every action that you take, every walk that you do is a vote for who you want to become. And if you can start stacking those wins up, that's really where that compound interest comes in, and you're going to succeed long term. And that's why the third point is that every walk becomes evidence. So walking gave me control. It actually fit around my life, and it helped me shape my identity. So if you're trying to lose weight, build muscle, take back control of your health and your fitness, don't ask yourself, what's the hardest thing I can do right now to punish myself? Really think about, what are the simplest things that I can repeat every single day for the next year? Those are usually the habits that are really going to be the ones that change everything for you. Not just your body, but your identity and your life. If you've enjoyed this video, then you're going to love the one on the screen right now, because that one's going to go through the real reason why most people lose weight, but then they just gain it all back again. So you can make sure that doesn't happen to you, and you can really make this into a lifestyle. But that's all, guys. I'll see you in the next one.